Kawhi Leonard is a walking contradiction. He's become one of the best scorers in the modern NBA by mastering a shot that's gone out of style. His signature shot is the pull-up jumper.
Shot clock down to 7. Brogdon watching Kawhi across the lane.
While the analytics community loves to malign mid-range shooting, there's still a time and a place for tough off-the-bounce mid-range shots. Want the ball in crunch time in an NBA playoff game? Well, you best be able to create your own shot, and many of the league's biggest moments have come in the mid-range, folks. Who can forget MJ's bucket to beat the Jazz?
Jordan, 20-footer, head of the key, good!
Or his incredible last-second jumper over Craig Elo.
Here's Michael at the foul line, a shot on Elo, good! The Bulls win!
What about Kobe's game winner against Phoenix?
Bryant for the win, bang!
But these aren't just ancient history. Many of the biggest shots this decade came in the mid-range too. LeBron's clutch mid-ranger that clinched the 2013 NBA Finals. Chris Paul's pull-up jumper over Tim Duncan in 2015. The point is that while the spreadsheet Cowboys love to ridicule the dark arts of the mid-range, when the spotlight comes on the biggest stages in the NBA, the script often calls for a heroic pull-up jumper. And few players in the world can produce these kinds of shots as well as Kawhi. As easy as it looks for him now, Leonard wasn't born with a reliable jumper. In fact, the biggest knock against him coming out of San Diego State was that he couldn't shoot.
You can't just be the perfect basketball player. They're always going to criticize something about your game. So I think it's fair, and they could keep criticizing me bad or positive. I'm just going to keep working harder to try to prove people wrong.
It took years of hard work in San Antonio to transform from the wing who couldn't shoot into the best two-way player in the world. In his first few years in the league, Leonard was pretty much a corner three specialist, but with each passing year, he continued to grow his offensive arsenal. Eventually, he added a pull-up jumper, as good as anybody not named Kevin Durant. These days, Leonard is one of the league's most complete scorers. He can finish at the rim and make threes, but it's his pull-up game that really sets him apart. Just look at all of that mid-range action.
Leonard stops, pops from 15, and hits, splashing one.
Leonard can dribble into traffic and still emerge with a decent look. Thanks to his athleticism and his feel for the game, he's developed into one of the world's best tough shot makers. The numbers are clear. Second Spectrum estimates that his constellation of 227 mid-range pull-ups last season should have resulted in a conversion rate of just 41%. But in reality, Leonard converted 49% of them. In other words, Leonard makes shots that other dudes miss, but so does every contemporary superstar. Harden, Curry, Durant, Clay. The thing that makes Kawhi different is that his shot-making skills harken back to the brilliance of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. The combination of the footwork, the pivots, the jab steps, the fadeaways. Not only are those shots gorgeous, but sadly they're an endangered species in a league increasingly obsessed with ketogenic shot diets that only permit threes and shots in the paint. League-wide, players took 4,000 fewer mid-range pull-ups in 2018-19 than they did back in 2015-16. But the kinds of mid-range buckets that Leonard makes are the same kinds that rested at the center of Kobe and Jordan's repertoires. In a way, Leonard is preserving the aesthetic that those guys made famous. It's not the analytics that make Leonard's game so awesome, it's the connection to the past. But let's not pretend it's not efficient. Here's how Kawhi pulls off this move, his most common shot type. Nearly half the time he uses a pick to set up the pull-up, and that's when it's most effective. His effective field goal percentage, which takes into account the added value of three-pointers, jumps up to 52% coming off a screen. Another 36% of his pull-up jumpers come from ISOs, though his EFG drops to just 40% on those looks. And 81% of these pull-ups are contested. That's why it's so impressive. Sometimes, especially in the playoffs, you just need a bucket. Creating a clean, open shot would be awesome, but you can't always count on that. The Clippers can count on Kawhi. The perfect example? His iconic series winner against the Sixers in last year's playoffs. Kawhi catches the ball at the top of the arc, defended by Ben Simmons. He dribbles 4 times into the corner as Joel Embiid and his 7-foot frame come over for the double team. When Kawhi pulls up, fading to his right, he's gearing up for an incredibly tough shot from 21 feet out. Given his location, speed, and defender distance, the average NBA player wouldn't have a prayer of making this shot. But after a few bounces, he drilled it. It was a great play by a great superstar, throwing back to the past in his own effective way. Hey guys, thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For highlights and news, download the ESPN app. And for premium content and streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.